Welcome back. In the last video, we started off by reproducing the information for equation 1, and we knew what the input shape was, but we didn't know what the output shape was supposed to be of equation 1. And one of the best ways to break down an individual layer in deep learning and neural networks, or even a whole model that is to figure out the input and output shapes. And so in section 4.1, which is what we just did, we calculated input and output shapes by hand using the information available to us here. And so what we're doing is we're still just breaking it down piece by piece, figuring it out and calculating things to make sure that when we recreate it with PyTorch layers, we've got things in the right shape. So let's turn a single image, we'll break it down even further into patches. Because what we're doing is, just to reiterate, as we'll go back to figure 1, we're starting with this. We want to create the patch and position embedding. How do we split a single image into patches? We know what shape it should be, but do you have any idea how we could get our image into patches? Well, how about we follow the Data Explorer's motto of visualize, visualize, visualize. Let's visualize, visualize, visualize. And you know what's our other motto? If in doubt, code it out. So let's view a single image here. And we'll go plt.imshow. We should have one stored in memory. Image.permute. And I'm just going to make it compatible with matplotlib. plt.title. We'll go class names. And we'll pass in the label. And then we'll go plt.axis and we'll turn off the axes. Stake. Wonderful. So how do we turn this image into patches? And if we have a look at our image right now, it's a tensor of shape, which is our input shape. So we need to convert this shape here, this tensor shape, which is what we've got here. Now, the color channels is a little bit flexible here. We can rearrange that if we want, but we've got the same dimensions here. We need it to be converted into these dimensions, which of course is n, which is number of patches, and d, which is embedding size. I might just put a note here. So number of patches, so number of image patches that we turn our single image into, and then we've got embedding size or embedding dimension. And the embedding dimension comes from table 1. But in our case, this was calculated by doing patch size squared times color channels, which was this little formula here, output shape. So let's keep going now. How about we start by trying to patchify this one image, turn this into patches. But before we turn the whole image into patches, why don't we turn a portion of it into a patch? I'll show you what I mean. So let's get the top row. Get the top row of the image. How might we plot the top row? So we've got some dimensions here, 3, 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, 4. But why don't we start off by permuting the image so it's compatible with matplotlib. You know, matplotlib likes the order to be color channels on the end. Convert image to color channels last. So HWC. Now let's go index to plot the top row of pixels. So we want, let's set a patch size to 16 because that's the patch size we've discussed that we want to use. If we go back to here under model variance, there we go, 16, input size 16 by 16. So we'll just set the patch size to a variable here, 16. And now what if we indexed on our image to go fig size equals, well, we'll create a plot here. We'll go patch size by patch size, and then we'll go plot.imshow. Now I'm going to index on the image permuted that we just created, and I'm going to get, for the height dimension, I'm going to get the pixels up to the patch size. We'll see what this looks like in a minute. For the width dimension, I'm going to get all the pixels, and for the color dimension, I'm going to get all the pixels. That's what the colon here does. So this is indexing up to patch size. Now we should see the top row of about 16 pixels for our image. Beautiful. So that's all we've got. We've got these 16 pixels from here to here and then all the way across, because we've got up to 16, so 0 to 16, and then we've got the entire width dimension, so 0 to 224, and then we've got all the color channel dimensions, so we've got a colored image here. Now if we go back up to where we visualized a single image, if we get another image here, we should have the same outcome. Pizza, okay, so this is a colorful image. This will look a little bit better. Now, just mind you, if you come back to this at a later date and we've rerun this, you're going to get a different image each time because it's random, the order of this train data loader. So don't worry too much if our images aren't exactly the same. This is just for demonstration purposes. It should work with any image. So pizza, same image shape because we've pre-processed it in such a way. And then we permute the same image. And then we want to get the top row here. There's the top row of pixels. We only get that little bit of crust on the end because we're only going from 0 to 16 on the height dimension with this index here. Now, what if we wanted to patchify just this section? So if we wanted to turn this into patches, much like we have in figure 1, I know I'm jumping back and forth here, but it's one of the best ways to illustrate things. So we've got this top row. How do we turn that into a sequence of patches? Well, one way to do so would be to iterate through all of these pixels and then every patch size, make a cut here. So how about we try to replicate that with matplotlib, hey? So set up code to plot top row as patches. We're trying to build some intuition here over how an image is processed in the patch embedding layer. And the patch embedding is arguably like one of the most important sections because I had a friend, this is a little anecdote, who's a machine learning engineer who said it's all about the embedding. Meaning, if you can represent your data in a good learnable representation, in other words, an embedding, well then the model architecture is probably going to be able to learn something. So it's all about the embedding. So let's keep going here. Num patches we can calculate to be image size divided by patch size. Does that work? Num patches, 14. Okay, that makes sense. So there's going to be 14 patches across here. So let's go assert. We just want to make sure that the image size here is divisible by the patch size. Now the reason I'm coding them like this is so that you can try it out, or we can try it out later with different image sizes and different patch sizes. For now, we're just going to stick to 224 and 16. So let's write here, image size must be divisible by patch size, because if we had a patch size that didn't divide into 224, well, we wouldn't get even patches, would we? So I'm just going to put this little assertion here, and then let's keep going. So let's create a series of subplots. And I'm going to do that because I want to iterate through all of the pixels here, and I want to cut them into patches and plot them individually. So what I mean by subplots is I'm going to go fig axes equals plt.subplots, which is going to help us create multiple plots. Then I can set number of rows equal to 1, number of columns equal to, it's going to be the image size, which is 224, or in other words, this dimension here, 0 to 224. So image size, columns I want divided by patch size. So I want 1 column per patch. So 1 column for each patch. And what I might do here is just print out a little bit of information. You know how much I love printing out information. So number of patches per row is going to be num patches. And then I'll go here. Patch size is going to be patch size times, or patch size pixels to be more exact, times patch size pixels. Beautiful. And let's go on the next one. There's a little parameter here called share x and share y. That just means, do I want them to share the x and y axis values? Well, if you want to research what that is, you could go matplotlib subplots. This is where we're getting this code from. share X and share Y, control sharing of properties among X or Y, and then true or false, and there's more information there. So let's just see what this looks like, hey? You know the saying, if in doubt, run the code. So this is going to create the subplots. Now we need to put something on those subplots. So we want to iterate through the pixels here and every patch size, so 16, 16, 16, 16, we want to cut it and plot it to its own plot. Let's see what that looks like. So iterate through a number of patches in the top row. For I patch in enumerate. So we're only doing the top row here, but the principle of what we're doing can be expanded later on. In fact, I'll set that as a challenge to you. Expanded for the whole image. The top row and every other row. So right now we're going through enumerate, range 0 to image size, so 0 to 224, and we have a step of patch size. So let's just print out this. Print out patch, just so you can see what it looks like. There we go. So there's our plot, nothing on it. So we have number of patches per row, 14. Patch size is 16 by 16 pixels. And our iterator here is going from 0 to 16. This is exactly what we want. 0 to 16, patch. 16 to 32, patch. 32 to 48, patch. Oh, is that right? Oh yeah, 32 to 48. Excuse me, yeah, I can't do math. Trust the code, Daniel. So axes I. So this is that enumerate I, and axes here, I. And because we've got 16, or we've got image size divided by patch size columns. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 14 columns. So on I column, we want to im show image permuted, and let's go up to patch size, just like we've done to plot the top row. But now we want to go from patch to patch plus patch size on the width dimension, and then we want all of the color channels. So a fair bit going on there, but if we step back through, so im show image permuted, on the height dimension, we want up to patch size, so 0 to 16, and then we want to start at patch. So for the first one, it'll be 0. So 0 to patch 0 plus 16. So 0 to 16, we want 0 to 16. Then for the next one, it will be patch will equal 16 plus, or 2 patch plus patch size. So 16 to 32, 16 to 32, 32 to 48, 48 to 64, etc., etc. And then we want all of the color channels. So let's now just set a few parameters here so we get a nice and clean plot. X labels, or X label I plus 1. So this will be set the patch label. This will make a lot more sense once we plot it out. It does take a little bit of practice to be able to create plots like this. Matplotlib is a fun challenge to work with. So and then finally, we're going to go set Y ticks. Do we have the top row plotted? Oh, yes, we do. Look at that. But it's quite small. Let's see if we can make this plot bigger, hey? Where do we create the fig size? Maybe here? Fig size equals patch size, patch size. Is that going to tell me that it's an error? Oh, we need a comma here. There we go. Beautiful. So we have now turned the top row of our image into individualized patches. Now it's another step to turn these patches into embeddings, but we're one step closer to preparing our input image. So my challenge to you is to expand what we've done here, turning a single row into patches across the whole image. So what you might have to think about doing is looping through both dimensions. So you might need 2 loops here. So right now we're looping through the width dimension here with this one here. You might need to do the same, but also looping through the height dimension. So a little bit of a challenge, but nothing you can't handle. Give it a shot And in the next video, we'll turn the whole image we've got here into patches. I'll see you there.